Can you sleep on public property? Whether you can legally sleep on public property depends on your location, local law, and specific circumstances. Sometimes allowed in the National Forest or the Bureau of Land Management, or during emergencies. Is often prohibited on city parks, sidewalks, benches, transit stops, or building entrances. Loitering or vagrancy laws. In many places, you can be cited or arrested for sleeping on public property. It is true that you cannot create a law without providing remedy. If so, sleeping is not optional. It is a part of our natural biology. How can you tell a person they cannot sleep without providing an alternative option? Telling someone you cannot sleep here without offering an alternative place to sleep creates a catch 22, a legal and ethical dilemma that has been at the center of federal court cases. As long as there is no option of sleeping indoors, the government cannot criminalize homeless people for sleeping outdoors. Even if there is a remedy, if supposedly a homeless shelter has been created, there is no obligation for any man to be forced under another's will. He has no obligation to participate in the homeless shelters program or their rules. People cannot be forced into shelters, programs, or medical treatment without due process. The U.S. Constitution and many state constitutions affirm individual liberty, which includes freedom of movement and association. However, the remedy provided can be used to justify enforcement of anti camping or anti sleeping ordinances. The Supreme Court said cities can enforce public sleeping bans even if no shelter is accepted by the individual. No man is obligated to submit to another's authority unless he has violated or just law or freely consents. But under current U.S. law, refusing a shelter doesn't protect you from being criminalized for sleeping in public, even if sleep is essential and no realistic, dignified option exists. If a man has no control over his natural expected sleep cycle, yet no crime has been committed, which results in sleep becoming criminalized, the criminalized action is then used to justify imprisoning him, forcing him to follow orders of those imprisoning him. Then basically no crime has been turned into an acceptable excuse to enslave. Is this slavery under U.S. law? Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States. This allows forced labor or imprisonment only if a crime has been committed. The state is using criminalization of natural behavior to exert dominion over individuals, turning necessity into liability and poverty into a crime. Whether or not courts call it slavery, it mirrors the same function, control without just cause. This isn't just a legal argument, it's a call to conscience. We also need to keep in mind that all land has been acquired except acquired and owned by someone except for what we call public land, which in reality consists of the easement and sidewalks or right of way. What this means is that sidewalks are the only place that a man can lawfully exist. Therefore, it is the only way, the only acceptable place for a person to sleep. A person without land has nowhere lawfully to exist except on public lands. When every square inch of land is claimed and the state prohibits sleeping in all accessible spaces, then the law is no longer regulating conduct, it's outlawing being. If everywhere is illegal, then being alive becomes illegal. If a man owns nothing and society will not give him space to sleep, but also forbids him from sleeping in the only space left, then society is not just criminalizing sleep, it is criminalizing poverty and humanity itself.